Hi, everyone. How are you? I'm Anna. Let's see who's in there. So if you can, we're going to wait a couple of minutes until we're expecting a couple of other people. So let's just write here something. So this is the chat. So before we start, so we're going to start now. We have 3 of the 4 spectators who are joining us. My name is Anna. I'm the CXO at Genially, and I will be presenting the webinar today. And I want to introduce also Carlos. And Carlos is responsible for the entire advocacy of the customers. So he is the one who helps you come through whenever you have any problems. And he's going to be assisting us today during the session with the chat. So please feel free to write any questions or answer, and we're going to be working on the answers of those. So Carlos is going to go to the chat now.
Yes.
And we're going to start the webinar. If you can just, before we start, if you can tell us in the chat who are present, from which company and from which country. And I'm gonna share my screen with you guys so we can start with the session. Let me just. So here you have my screen, as you can see. And give me just 1 second there. There you go. So, and here are the 4 tips that you can see. Give me just 1 second. So, as you can see, we're going to start here, and the webinar from today, what we're going to do is we're going to learn some professional techniques to surprise your audience. We have different companies joining us today and different profiles, so we're going to try to cover the main topics that we sent you. So the 4 tips that we're going to be talking today about how to make you a genius about when using Genially are, the first one, we're going to be talking about the professional techniques. So those are things that you can use on the panel and on the editor when you are creating the Geniallys. Then we're going to give a couple of tips of editing. And then we're going to give you some insights about how you can engage your audience with a creation stage. And at the end, we're going to see how you can share your Genially on the best way possible. Let me just check a second. There you go. That's Carlos. So, on the first one, so the professional techniques on the panel of Genially. All of you are familiar already with the panel. As you can see, in February, we launched the new product. And there you have a new way you can include your resources as images and so on. So let's go to the panel. So here in the panel on your brand, here you can insert your colors and your fonts and your images and backgrounds. So I don't know if you have had some experience with that. I'm going to show you just how you can add the color. You can just include, for example, the code or the RGBA code. So you can just select it, and the color is going to be automatically added to your colors at your brand. You can also include your own font, as the members who are participating today, most of you are interested in having a corporate font. So for that, you just need to upload the new font. And here, for example, you can select it from the fonts that you already have there. You open it, and then you can see it on the editor when you're editing your Genially. Here you can add some images from your own. For example, if you want to add an image, you can add it. And then also you can have it on your editor. And backgrounds, especially corporations, you usually have a corporate background. Here you can add any of those that you may have had. And there you have it. So these are the things that we offer you in order to brand and to offer a better experience to your audience where you're creating your Geniallys. Then we're going to talk about how to make a Genially, the difference between making a Genially collaborative versus transferring one. So you need to go to your creations here. And there you can see some of the Geniallys are going to have this blue tag. And that means that someone else is the owner of that Genially, and that person shared with you that Genially. On the other hand, you can make a Genially, for example, let's try this one, and I'm going to share it with me, for example. I just write the email, click on invite, and then I have a pink tag that says share. That means that I am the owner of that Genially. The difference between being the owner and having a shared Genially is that here I can duplicate this Genially, I can move it, I can transfer it. While if someone shared that Genially with me, I'm not going to be able to duplicate it. Okay, so that's the main difference between those two. Whenever you send collaborative, please keep in mind that the other person is going to be able to do everything inside of that Genially. So if I share this Genially with someone, that person can move everything, can delete things from this Genially. I'm not going to be able to recover it. It is as if you were working on that Genially. And the difference with transfer is that whenever you transfer a Genially, for example, if I'm going to transfer this one, transferring a Genially is sort of like sending per email an attachment. So whenever I transfer a Genially to someone, that Genially is going to appear here on my creation of the other person. And whatever change that person makes, you're not going to be able to see it. So for example, if you send a Word file to a friend of yours, if that person makes any change to that file, you're not going to be able to see it. It's exactly the same. That's how a transfer works. So I'm seeing here on the chat, if you would please tell us from which company are you joining us, so maybe we can include also some tips from you guys that is going to be helpful. And please feel free to ask any questions. So next topic that we had are the new future of creating folders. All of you are a master and team owners users, so all of you have this new feature that we released a month ago, and it is that you can organize all of your Geniallys. So how do you do it? So you just click on create folder. For example, I create a new folder for the sake of the webinar. And here, if I want to move, for example, let's pick one here, for example, this one. If I want to move it to that folder, I just need to click move. And I select on which folder I want to put that Genially into. And then here I go to a new folder. So this is really useful for companies that are working with a lot of Genially or generating a lot of content monthly. For example, e-learning academies that I see we have a couple of them joining us today. Also for companies that are creating trainings for your employees so you can organize it on the way that you need. As mentioned, this is a really new feature that we released a month ago. And now we're going to go more into more technical things that you may need for you. So you can change the credit card data and download the invoice directly from your account. So here, you just go to settings from your profile. And billing, you're going to see all your billing information, and you're going to be able to download all the invoices that you have. And you can change the credit card information. But if you anyhow don't manage to do that because of some failure or something that it's not working, just write us an email or just write us through the chat, and we're going to answer any questions that you have. So now we're going to go to the second topic, and it is how to make Genially private. That means that you need a password in order to access the content. This is useful for Genially that you're gonna share maybe per email, or that you're gonna send a link to someone and you don't want everyone to be able to see this. Have any of you already worked with private Genially? So how it works is that on the editor, you just go to settings, and here on the settings, you just see here the password. Now it's ticked public. That means that anyone who has access to the link can see that Genially. And if you uncheck that box, you can just write here a password, okay? The way that the user is gonna see it is how we have it here on the own Genially, as you can see on the invitation that we sent you. So here you just write the password, just write it by yourself. The password is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're gonna write it down on the chat too. So you just click here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you can access to the Genially, as you can see. And you can also just navigate on the Genially if you have a password. Also, you can set the password on the window. Here, as you already entered the password, I already can see it. And that's one of the techniques, or one of the features that you have access to with the master and with the team. If you embed the content, for example, also on a website, you can also use it. If you embed the Genially into an educational platform or in a professional platform, you may not need this feature. So now we're gonna go to some tips on the editor that you can use. So first we're gonna see what the magnetic guides are, and then we're gonna go to some features that are really helpful for designers. So let's go to the editor. Here, for example, when you move some items, let's go to exactly that same page where we're at. So when you move items on the editor, you see these magnetic lines that you see here, the blue ones. Those allow you to really align really quickly any elements with respect to the other ones. And what's more interesting, and I don't know if you're familiar with those, are the layer mode and the design mode. Here in the menu, on the 3 dots that you see on the right, you can click on the design mode. That means that whenever you have selected an element, here you can see, you can have some option of selecting exactly the size that you want that element to have. You can fix the ratio that you have between the width and the height, or you can set the exact position within the canvas with the X and the Y, or you can set the rotation that you want to have, for example. Let me show you an example. So this is pretty useful if you're really used to working with these parameters, or if you really need an exact position of that. Another feature that you have is the layers mode. So this is really useful to setting up the layers as you want them. So for example, if I select this element, I can see it here. It's already selected. I can put a name into it. I can also, for example, say that I don't want to see it. I can hide it. Or also I can block it, for example, or I can delete it from here, or I can add the interactivity to that element from here. So also you can drag it and put it, let me just select it. You can put it in front of another element, or you can put it beneath another element. You can just start moving it around all the elements that you have on your Genially. Another aspect that we wanted to show you is the multi-selection. So for example, just clicking Shift, you can select, and this is pretty basic. We wanted to show you in case you're not familiar with that. And also you can block many elements at the same time. You can also, for example, if this element, for example, has an animation, a good thing that you can do with that is that you can also copy the animation values and paste it to other elements. For example, if I want to paste it to this element, I just click it there. So we have another feature that we wanted to show you is the creation of pages and how to join them in the same Genially. So what does exactly that mean? That means that if you, for example, on this Genially that I have, I want to recycle a page that I have on another Genially. I just click add a Genially, and instead of selecting something from the template that I'm at, I just select my Geniallys. And I think what I've seen a couple of you already use this feature. So whenever you click my Geniallys, all the Geniallys that you have on the same account are going to appear here. So for example, if I want to insert something that I have here on this page, on this webinar, on this Genially, so I just click that page and I add it. So in that way, I can really recycle work that I have done before, and I put it on the same Genially. So just be aware when you do this that if you had any transition pages or any links within that Genially, you may need to reprogram them when you insert them because they're associated to another Genially. That's something to bear in mind. So now we're going to go to the resources. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. We're going to be here showing you and answering any doubts that you have. Are the resources and application that they have and the use that they have? For example, the icons, the buttons, the images, and the GIFs. We're going to go relatively quickly through this. Just wanted to show you that we have these options. On the resources, you have some icons, for example. The icons, you can edit them, the color and the size, and you can add animations to those. These are really useful. And if you see that you're missing an icon or something, just let us know, and we can introduce them into our production line of icons and images. Another thing that you have here, let me show you the second one, were the buttons. So these are more related to, they call to action to the user. So immediately, if you see this on a Genially, the person immediately knows and they should click on it. So they're really useful for that kind of things. And again, if you see that you're missing some certain icons that you might find useful, just write us an email to support at Genially, and we're gonna be working on those. Images and GIFs, you also have them here. They're powered by Pixabay and by GIF5. You just can select them and just add them. You can also add your own images if you haven't had them on your brand on the first section that we saw here. You can just drag them directly there. And I think most of you already are familiar with this feature. So I think we have some slow connection at the moment. So now that those were the things that we wanted to make sure that you were aware about. And now we're going to go deeper and deeper into more professional techniques from now on. So now we're going to show you about the download in HTML. So the Geniallys, you can see them offline if you download them as a PDF or if you download them as a JPG, and also if you download it as an HTML. Now with the new version, you can download it directly from the panel. And for downloading a Genially, you just need to, let's go to actually the one that we're at. You just need to go to the panel, hover over on the Genially you want, and just click the download button. And here you're going to see the download of HTML5. Just be aware that any download in HTML5, you're going to keep the animations and the interactions that you have, but you're not going to be able to see any material that is online. Like, for example, if you downloaded a video, a YouTube video, if you have a downloaded video there, you're not going to be able to see it on the HTML5. So here, for example, this is the HTML5 file that I downloaded. So you just open the folder, and you just need to select the Genially.html5. Important it is that you don't drag out this Genially out of this folder because the entire information is saved there. See, and here you have, I'm going to show you, you have the animations, you have the interactions, and this is everything that is online. You don't need any internet connection. So this is great if you need to do a presentation in front of the public, or if you need to present that to one-to-one meetings, in marketing purposes, and so on. So the next one is the browser zoom. Sometimes you don't see it on the editor. You need a certain percentage of the zoom. So just to remind you how to change the zoom of the Chrome browser, which is the one that works the best with Genially. That's a small reminder. So now let's go deep into the difference between HTTP and HTTPS. In Genially, you can't work with HTTP without PS because we work only with the secure version of how information is being sent. So please, if you don't try to embed anything that it's HTTP into Genially because it's not going to work. We're working only with HTTPS at the moment. So another feature that is pretty useful if you're doing any quizzes or if you're presenting something live with students, or if you're working with someone at your company that you want to show them something live, that would be to move elements within your Genially. So for example, now if you with your own mouse, if you try to move these elements, they're not going to move because we have that disabled on our editor. So if you go to that Genially, I'm going to enable that in our Genially. So you just go to settings, and there you just need to do enable director items in view mode. So if you enable that, and you go back to your Genially, let me show you here. I'm going to preview the Genially. I'm going to be able to move the elements within that Genially. So for example, if you want to tell a story about, let's go to that page. If you want to tell a story to your students or to your audience, so you can make it more interactive and tell them, so if we have a mission, we were the NASA, and we have a meteor that is going to Earth, so we can send a rocket to save it. But if you want to explain really the path that the rocket should follow, at the moment you can't. But there's a feature within Genially that is going to help you to make more interactive your presentation. And it is, for example, here in settings, you can enable the paint in view mode. So whenever you enable that, and I will preview exactly the same page. So you can paint on that Genially. So that makes more engaging if you're presenting live or you're doing some streaming. So you say, okay, I want the rocket to follow, for example, this path. So you can already tell your audience, and it's more engaging when you're looking at it. And you have different colors, you have different sizes that you can use here for the pencil that you're going to use. So these are things that usually you're not aware of, and they're pretty useful when you're presenting. So those were the last two that we wanted to show you on this section to know. Now we're going to move to a really interesting section, which is how to engage your audience from the point of view of the content. What type of content can you embed and use in Genially that makes the differentiation with another products that you may be able to use? So in Genially, it is pretty easy to embed content that is online. So different videos, maps, and so on. So the positive things about embedding content is that you definitely you avoid people going to another website. So for example, let me show you here. I'm going to embed a map. So here, this is where we're located. We're located in Spain. So you just click on share on your Google Maps. Whenever you have looked, you already had the location. And here you can use, for example, use the short URL because it's a little bit easier and more comfortable to use that kind of things. So you just go to your editor, and here on the embed section, you just paste the link that you have, and on that way you can embed here the map on your Genially, and when the user is navigating through your Genially, they can interact with that map or with that video or anything that you want to embed into your Genially that is online without. Let me see why it's not. There it is. The person can navigate in your Genially without going to another website. So you keep the focus of your audience there. So it doesn't have to go to YouTube and then after that watching another YouTube videos. So another thing that I wanted to mention here is that you can embed it on the canvas as we did here. But as you see, maps and different videos and so on, usually
they need a lot of space within your canvas, and sometimes you don't need that to be the main message of what you're trying to share. So for that cases, you can use the interaction. So for example, I'm going to add a button here, and I'm going to add a button for a video, for example, or for a map. Here, I want the audience to only see the map whenever they click here. So I just go here to the window. I go to the code view, and this is something that it's a bit tricky, but it's easy to do. You just go to Insert Map and copy the code. And when you copy the code, you just go back to the editor and paste the code into your window. So, ¿qué pasa?
Window.
That's true. I copied it on the tooltip, and actually it needed to be copied into the window. That's a very good tip from our colleague here, Carlos. So you just copy here the iframe, and you just click Save. So that means that the person needs to click on that for being able to see the map. Just think of the map as if you would include a video, or you can also include a PDF. You can embed a PDF. You can embed a type form. You can embed really almost anything that it's online. You see, and now I see a map within the window. If I would have put it sort of like a hyperlink, so the user would have gone to the Google page, Google Maps, so he most probably would have forgotten that he was actually seeing a material that is important to him. So this way you really keep the message to the audience to just stay in your Genially and finish what you started with. So if you have any questions regarding this, just let us know. So the another thing that we wanted to talk to you about today was the animations. So as you know, the human eye catches first movement before colors and before anything else and before text. So naturally, if you add animation in the correct size or in the correct section of your Genially, the attention of your audience is going to go there. So what we recommend is just to put animations on the entrance so you catches the attentions for the first time. And for that, you just select, for example, the elements. You just go to animations, and we offer you 4 types of animations. So for the elements for enter, for the elements to go, if you need something to disappear from your Genially. Here we have the continuous animations. Those are used for things that you want the user really to click on it or really don't stop using it. We should be really careful about these animations, because if we put too many continuous animations into our Genially, the eye of our audience is not going to know where to look at. So the continuous animations are really useful if you use them on really small amount of elements where you want the user or the audience, for example, to click on it, or you want to really be aware that you included that picture or that image or that text into your Genially. We usually use it only in a couple of elements within our contents. And the hover are the elements that are really useful if you want to, for example, something to happen only when the user or when the audience is hovering over it. So you can copy and paste the animations. That is also really helpful. And I'm going to show you also the animations of the slides. You can choose different animations for how going from one page to another. So you have horizontal animations and vertical animations. And here you can preview them. You can preview the animations that you choose. So video mode. That's before we move to video mode, let me show you. Now let's go to video mode before. So in video mode, that means that you can, if you are embedding your Genially into a website, for example, and you wanted to reproduce it by itself, you can use this enable video mode. You can select here the number of seconds that you want the page to turn, And this is a very useful feature that is enabled the loop mode. That means that whenever it goes to the last page, it's going to start over from the first page infinitely. So that is really helpful if you're using Genially for marketing purposes, or if you're embedding on your website. So the Genially is going to be always there, and you want the user just to see how the content within every 4 seconds you want the page to turn. So this is also really useful, and something that we have found that engages the audience that you're talking to. So I'm going to go a little bit back to the interactivity. I'm going to explain you the 4 types of interactivity that we have in Genially. So the first one, it's going to be the window. And how it works is it's just a pop-up window that when you click on it, a window opens. And here you can put a lot of information. I have the video mode on. Give me just 1 sec. So I'm going to here so the page doesn't turn automatically. So on the window, it is really helpful to work the information on layers. So if you want to include something that is not the main message, but you want your audience to look at it only when he wants to, so you empower the audience that you have, and he says, okay, I want to see what is in here. And here you can put a static content or content that is not enriched, something like text or just something pretty plain, to embed something that is online. For example, you can also embed into a window a Twitter. That's something that you can do. I'm going to show you really shortly how do you do that. For example, if I want my audience to click there and here to see a Twitter, I just set the window here on the top. I go to Twitter. And for example, I want this tweet. This is my personal Twitter. So here I just click to insert this Twitter. I copy the code. And then I go back to the editor. On the code view, I copy the code and then save. So with this is online content that the user is going to see live. That means that this is not a screenshot or just an image of a photo of an instant moment, but that Twitter that I embedded, it's alive. So I can actually, let me see. Here you go. So I can actually vote on it. I can interact with this Twitter. So this is also really nice to see things that are not static and are interactive as actually the world works nowadays. So the other thing that I can see, the other type of interaction are the tooltips. You see, I haven't clicked on this, and this is not a pop-up window as the one here that we saw. This is a tooltip, and with the tooltips, I can put information, or we recommend that you insert information that is really short, that are texts, there are clarification, a small clarification of a certain point that you have on your Genially. And for the audience to know that they need to click on it or to hover on it, it's good that you use the buttons, or if you don't use a button, that you use a sort of animation so the audience knows that they need to click on it. We also have the go to page interactivity. So you just set it up, and when the person goes to another page, that's a relatively known feature. And we also have the hyperlink, which is the mostly used one, but actually is the one that moves away your audience from your content. So we don't recommend it that much. So if you click here, another page is open, so another website, and then you lose the attention of your audience. So that's why we don't recommend that one, but it is available for you. And again, how to access the interactivity. So you just select the element you want to add the interactivity to, and with a hand. And there you can access the 4 types of interactions that we offer you are the tooltips. So the one for small text and small clarifications. We have the window, which is the pop-up window, the go-to page, and the hyperlink. So going back to our webinar, we also have the pins. What are the pins, and how do you use them, and why to use them? So the pins and the advantage of the pins, you can find them here under interactivity. Here, all of these are pins. So for example, here I'm gonna show you one of the nicest ones that are new. For example, this one already has the animation. So if you add something like this, like a pin, the user already knows that he should click on it, or his attention goes to that one. And the difference with a pin and another image or a button, it is that the size of the pin is always the same regardless of the size of the canvas. So for example, if you're creating a Genially that you know that it's going to be consumed through a cell phone, via cell phone, so it is useful to use that one because the size does not change. Let me show you how it works here. You see the pin? Just look that the size of it does not change, even though the entire Genially remains its proportions. So for example, the map is smaller, the letters are smaller, but the size of the pin remains the same. So that's a basic characteristic of a pin. So it is useful if you know that your audience is going to be working on, it's going to be viewing your Genially in different devices. So, and the share. This is how to share your audience. So if you can tell us on the chat, how do you share your Genially? We can focus exactly on that one. In order to share your Genially, you have different options. So from the panel, you can just hover the Genially and click on share. And here you have the 4 different things that you can use. So you can share your Genially on different social networks like Facebook, Twitter, Google+, LinkedIn, and so on. The one that we recommend the most is Twitter because it's the one that works the better. So for example, if I'm not gonna share exactly, you can just click on it, and as you can see, it works pretty fast. But I'm gonna show you how to. Let me show you another one. So for example, this one. If I want to share this one, here I just click on Twitter, and then I just tweet it. I'm just gonna tweet it like that. I'm gonna go to my Twitter account. Let me refresh it. And the good thing about sharing in Twitter is that you're going to be able to see the Genially as you can be able to consume the Genially within Twitter. So as you can see, your audience is going to see exactly like this. And if you added some buttons, they can interact with that Genially without leaving Twitter. So they can really consume it really fast. And it's not going to be a pain for them to consume your content in the social media. So that's the social media that we recommend the most for sharing Geniallys. Also, you can share the link. You have the social page and the exclusive page. The difference is that the social page, it's going to be social in the sense that people are going to be able to comment anything on your Genially. Mostly companies and e-learning institutes usually don't use this one. I think you're going to be more interested in the exclusive page, which is just a page with your Genially. So it's exactly like this one where we're looking at. So you have a URL, you have an ID, and the person is going to see like that the Genially. And one of the most interesting ones are the insert. So for this one, we provide you with an iframe code. You just copy it and insert it on any website that you want or any platform. So for example, if you want to insert that on WordPress, which is one of the most used platforms, you just search for the part where you can add any HTML code. So here, for example, on this one, I can use it visually or I can add the code. So I just add the code, copy the code that I have, and when you click preview, you're gonna see it as we saw it on the URL. Sure. So here, you can just consume your Genially, and it was pretty easy. You just needed to copy and paste the code, and this is the Genially. This is one of the most used features that we have. And also you can send per email the Genially. What the user or the audience is going to receive, they're going to receive an email with this link so they can they can consume the Genially. So going to so we already saw how to embed your Genially on your website using the HTML code.
or you can also insert it or embed it on WordPress, Medium, Wix, or any platform, also educational platforms, and how to embed your Genially feature. We already also saw it. So this was the webinar that was what we provided, that we suffered with structure for you guys today. So please feel free to write us directly to premium@Genially, or I don't know if you are familiar with our new help center. So if you just click here on your Genially, you can see we have at the moment, we're trying to cover all the topics that you have been asking us through our support center, and you're going to be able to see more articles every week. So just thank you very much for joining us today. And if you have any questions, just feel free to write us. Okay? There are no questions? So thank you very much. Bye.